Well, with exports falling in double digits and corporate restructuring underway, there's a growing speculation that another rate cut is in store. As we look to the Bank of Korea's monetary policy meeting for this month in just a week from now, Arirang's Ji-hye sat down with a member of the central bank's monetary policy board.
So while releasing its new growth outlook, the government forecast Korea's exports to drop by around 5% from last year when we saw an 8% drop. Is Korea losing its industrial competitiveness, or is the downturn simply reflecting the slowing demand in China or other key markets?
Let's get the facts straight first. Even though we have seen a sharp drop in our exports, in volume terms, the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter of last year actually increased in volume terms. The global economy is bleak, there's no doubt about it, and we most likely will be experiencing slow economic growth for the next 5-10 years. Within this slowdown, our export performance is not as bad as some people might have thought, largely because our export is so much dependent on the unit value prices, which in turn is very dependent on oil prices. I'm not saying that we were super, but given the circumstances that we have been heavily dependent on heavy industries, where competition has been most severe from China, from that context, we're doing okay. But the key challenge is, okay, how do we ensure, given the uncertainty in the external sector, that we strengthen the self-sustaining consumption cycle that we seems to have already put in place?
Exactly. To overcome that kind of challenge, do you think additional fiscal and monetary policies are necessary on top of the ones that the central bank and the government have introduced in June?
We recently had a conference, BOK and Peterson Institute, and many speakers there sort of emphasize the fact that we are facing structural problems. However, in all situations, it's not purely structural. There are some cyclical factors as well. And therefore, they emphasized the need for macroeconomic policies to be supportive of the undergoing structural reforms. Yet again, they also emphasize that macroeconomic policies are not substitute for structural reforms, but complementary to structural reforms. And that's exactly what we are aiming at. Despite the need for strong structural reforms, if the cyclicality strengthens too much and drags down the economy, then the global economy may actually fall into recession. So that we need to avoid.
The country, at the same time, faces longer-term issues like aging population that is a serious danger to the country's growth potential. What should the country do to raise its growth potential?
One is rebalancing. We have been an export-dependent economy, and that has to change at some point. And the second one is to create an economy, and that's essentially creating value that needs to solicit demand as well as supply. It's rather a little bit difficult concept, but what that essentially means in simple language is that we need to come up with products that did not exist before. And that's the way you create both supply and demand at the same time, because that then will have direct impact on job creation and recreate the virtuous cycle.
All right, thank you so much for your time
today.
Pleasure.
Thank you.